Right now, I'm working with a three-piece band. I'm playing guitar and singing. One of my buddies is playing bass and singing, and another one is playing drums. And it's kind of your three-piece rock and roll act. Um, I would say I'm heavily influenced right now by the Cars, especially, and so I'm gonna talk a little bit about like some of the production stuff with the Cars, actually, that I'm gonna use as like an inspiration. Um, but I'm gonna give you guys a little link to this podcast if you're interested, because the Pixies were also kind of a big influence when we started getting together. We started getting together over the summer um, to play, and we've all played together before, so we kind of know each other and we're familiar with each other's styles and personalities. But this podcast, it's called A Pixies Podcast, documents the Pixies going through the recording process of one of their recent albums, or it might be the most recent album. Um, it's a great listen because it takes you through kind of like the recording, the writing, the production. I really enjoyed it. It's 12 parts or something, and they just kind of go through the production of the album. For me, I found this actually inspiring to want to record with my friends and to kind of approach it on some level the way they did. One of the things they did in their process was work on 4 songs at a time. And that's what we decided to do. We decided to pick 4 songs and work on those. And all the music that we are doing now, we've just written since we started getting together. And it's been nice. They're the kind of guys that I can just get together and play and not feel awkward or uncomfortable with. They're very open to ideas, and there's no judgment. And if I play a part they don't like and they tell me, that's fine. I don't mind. And if someone else does, we can talk about that stuff. So it's a good vibe. And because of that, I think we get ideas really fast because we're not afraid to take chances. We're not afraid to get a little silly or sound bad. And because of that, I think cool stuff happens. So we've been having a lot of fun with that. So one of the big things that's helped us move forward is that we record everything we do. So we're always recording all our practices. And I wanted to just start by showing you just a template because this has kind of saved my life or my sanity over and over again. In Live 11, you've got the little templates folder where you can save all your templates. And if you have a set that you've put together that you want to save as a template, perhaps maybe you set up some mics or you put some synths in and tracks or did some mapping. You have stuff that you don't feel like doing every time. If you go to File, Save Live Set as a template, Live will save whatever you're working on inside this templates portion of your browser. And then every time you open a project from here, it opens as untitled, like it says up here. It's untitled. It's not going to save over your work by mistake. So you'll always have like a fresh set. If you're not on Live 11, you can still do this. If you go in your user library and just create a folder called templates, then anything you save in this folder will act like a template. So if you open it from here, you will get the untitled. Instead of normally, it will open it as the title of the project. And then if you change something and hit save, you save over your project. This will always be untitled. And then when you go to save, it'll ask you to name the project so you won't lose anything. So it doesn't matter where I open it from here or from here, but this is our like kind of setup project. We're calling ourselves Some Good Evil. It's a name we settled upon after. I hate coming up with band names. So I'm so happy we're not thinking about that anymore. And what you see here is basically our setup. So normally when we're recording our practices, we'll do it in arrangement view. And within here, I've got everything set up so that we're ready to go. And maybe if I just open my, this will work. I got my proper audio interface. So you'll notice that I've got a group here called Acoustic Drums. And inside that group is the kick, the snare, and the overheads. So this is the whole drum kit all mic'd up. It's already got the inputs where I want them. They're labeled. P.S. If you aren't aware, you can label the inputs and outputs on your audio interface. So I'll do that a little slower. I went into audio tab and preferences, and under input configuration, I can just name all of these. So I know what's plugged into each input, and I don't have to, get on my back and lie around and follow the wires and figure out where they go. I just know that each one of these inputs is hooked up to whatever it's hooked up to. So that saves me a lot of time, and everything's mic'd up. On each track, I did a little basic EQ compression stuff, just to kind of get me started. Nothing too intense here. Got all that. And then the drums are in a group, so I can nicely, minimize them. And there's just a little bit of processing there. And sometimes this stuff changes. I mess around with it. But I've got the bass guitar. It's set up. It's got a tuner on it. The guitar mic is set up. I cut a little bit of the low end on the guitar from about 80 hertz and below, because the low E string on a guitar is roughly 80 hertz. It's like 82 or something like that. So I just cut everything below 80 because I'm not going to need that low energy. And since I'm miking my guitar amp, I'm most likely picking up some of the bass guitar, some of the drums. So it just cuts a little extra information out of there that I don't need. And then we have a mixer where our vocals go through, and that's just, the output is just sent here. This, I'll be honest with you, is a little bit of a disaster. This isn't, I'm always changing this, trying to get it right. But it's set up so I have a okay starting place, though I know I would like to change some of this. But it's all ready to go. So we can record, we can do our practices, re-record, and then every time we finish, I'll send out the recordings to the guys so that they can listen to it. We usually get together about once a week. So during the week, we can listen back to what we did and think about what we want to do. And then usually when we meet up, we can talk about the tracks a little and get back into playing. So, do you have any questions on any of that stuff? Am I hearing you, Joe?
Sounding good.
Sounds good? Okay. Having templates.
Good.
Cool. Having templates is a huge time saver. If I had to set this up every time, the truth is I probably wouldn't record every practice. I just would give up on it. So that's a big help. So let me go in and find my actual session, which I think dates back to November. So here I've got one project called the Good Evil Drums project, and we've got our 4 tracks that we're working on here. I started it in Live 10, but then I changed them to Live 11. But when I saved the set in Live 11, I made a copy. I did save as, so that I still had the old version just in case Live 11 wasn't working, something funny happened, because this was still during the beta. And I think maybe I'll open this one because it's a touch further along than the others. We don't need to save that. Might take a second because there's a bunch of tracks and audio and all that goodness. What I will say is we kind of debated on what we wanted to do. Did we want to play to a click? Did we want to just play live and just record everything at once? And what we decided was that since we record every practice anyway, if we wanted to make a live album, we can just make a live album at any time. So we decided to go with the click. We played the drums and everything to the click, did like scratch tracks, and we built off that. And I'll kind of take you through the process. I'm going to close a few things down. Okay. So this is the song so far. We started off by doing the drums. We decided the drums would be the first thing we do, and that we wanted to get those right, and then we could get everything else right on top of it. Now, if we would have just had our drummer play along to a click track with nothing else to play with, it would have came out kind of weird and stiff because we're so used to playing with each other. So we wanted to play together. But the problem is we're just in this one room down here. We didn't want to have all the guitars and vocals and everything bleeding into the drum recordings. We wanted the drum recordings to be nice and clean. So we plugged the bass guitar, the guitar, and the vocals directly into the interface. We went direct in. And those are these scratch tracks, which you'll see up here. These are called scratches. And they kind of like don't really count. They're just there so the drummer has something to play along with. And they're just direct input things with some effects on it. They're not really necessarily needing to sound good, and you don't even hear them in the final mix or anything. They're just there as guide tracks. So we were all able to put headphones on and hear each other in the headphones. And the drummer would have the click nice and loud in his headphones, and we'd play along with him. And he could hear us playing, and it would all kind of work almost like playing live. And because we each had a set of headphones, it felt fairly natural. And on this track, this group here, this is our drums. And for this time, we had some. Let me pull this out. Let me pull it this way. Or I could just do this for now. So here's our drum group. And on this one, I have a kick drum mic. So it's just a kick drum mic stuck right inside the kick drum. The snare drum here, that is a Shure SM57 inside, not inside, right on the top skin, pointed down, just one mic. And we had, I think, a 58, an SM58 on the rack tom. And I believe it was a Samsung SM58 style microphone on the floor tom, or vice versa. We had those two mics on the toms. And then for the overheads, I have a matched pair of Rode NT5. They're like little, like almost like pencil condenser mics. They're very high-endy. They pick up all that like cymbal stuff and a little bit of the room as well. So they give us like kind of the sound of everything. So that was all mic'd up, and the guitar, the bass, and the vocals were going directly in, and we were all listening through headphones. And while doing that, that enables us, I'll let you hear the drums here. Now, I should say nothing's really mixed yet. I've tinkered a little bit, but we're still, not there yet. So we got our counter. Open these up. Randall's here. Awesome. And you can hear there's really not much going on besides drums, right? Sometimes you can hear me saying things, singing a little. I wonder if right here we might get a little. You can kind of hear my guitar in the overheads. So that's the extent of what got picked up, which is really nice. We've got just that stuff. When I do the drums, lately at least, I've been using, so I've got my kick drum here. Am I going too fast? Is there anything I left out or missed? If there is, you can just chime in and let me know if you have questions. Stop me along the way. Okay. So I've got my kick drum mic here, and this is the kick, and it's relatively clean, right? You can kind of really just see the kick there. But there is still a little bit of stuff going on. It looks like I turned it off, but I did have a gate on here. So the gate was so that we can just hear the kick drum. So that's without the gate. We can hear like those snare drums. With the gate on, we really just get the kick. I would work on this a little bit more, but it just kind of cleans it up. Because I really don't want to get a lot of that drum sound recorded through the kick drum. There's just extra information I don't need. I'm going to fill that in with the other mics. So if I can clean it up without really losing the kind of integrity of the kick drum, I'll do that. And that's what I did with the gate here. Did a little EQing. I don't know if that's what I'm going to keep really, but it was just kind of a start. That might even have been what I had in the template even. And I did something very similar on the snare. So we got the do I have a gate? Yep, there's the gate. So the gate just lets the louder signals through. So anything above this threshold comes through. And then when it's not coming through, the volume gets turned down. And that allows me to cut out all the extra stuff that happens when the snare is not playing. Let's see. Let's turn off the gate. This is the snare mic without the gate. There's a lot going on there. Turn on the gate. What I particularly like about the gate here is it takes out a lot of the ring of that snare drum. If you listen, the snare drum really rings out for a long time. Hear it more in this part. So that kind of like ringing sound lasts until the next snare. It's clutter that I don't really want in the mix. If I can get that out, I'm happy to, and the gate does that for me. And again, a little bit of EQ. You can see I tried to pull out some of that ringing of the snare drum here as well. Again, I'm probably going to go back over this stuff, but this was just some thoughts on what I might try to do with this mix. If you look at the tom tracks here, there's not a lot of tom action really happening. There's a little bit in the beginning, but it's pretty clear to see where he hits the tom drums. And again, this is a good job for the gate, in my opinion, because there's a lot of noise. I'll let you hear it in a second. So this is what the rack tom sounds like. And there's just the mic without any tom hits. That's going to be clutter in my mix, so I'm gating it out. And I don't hear anything until he actually hits the tom, which looks like he hits right around here somewhere. There's just one tom hit right there. It just gives me a lot of control over that sound. The same thing happens with the kick drum. I'm sorry, the floor tom. You can hear all the drums are like vibrating inside the floor tom. A lot of clutter, but if I gate it, that's all gone. And then right over here, we get some floor tom. So if we put those together, you can hear. It just goes away nice. Here's a nice spot where there's a lot of tom action. And that's compared to, again, just so you hear. There's some options, like rather than the gate, since there's such little tom activity, I could even just delete all of this stuff. I could, hover over that and just, deactivate that. I just hit the 0 key and that gets deactivated, so it's not even there. I might do that actually when I really mix this. That might be something I do to clean this up, if I think I can do better than the gate. So that might be something I spend like an afternoon doing, just deleting stuff I don't need in the drums. Finally, we have the overheads. And with the overheads, I'm cutting out a lot of the low end. I had that back in. So I'm just cutting that out so that I have room now for the other mics to come through. That's something I'll probably play around with when I'm mixing. I'll experiment with how much of that I actually want to do. But what the overheads really do nicely is capture the room and the space of the drums, as well as the cymbals and some of that just upper energy. And this is our result. I might consider doing some like reinforcements with some samples to help fatten this up or fill in some of the drums and make them sound a little more like I might want them to sound. And that's probably something we'll do maybe in another chat when I'm ready to do that, to show you how I'm going to go about using some of the features in live to like do like drum replacement. It's a pretty common thing in a lot of production where there are samples used to reinforce the drums, to give them a little more consistency, to thicken them out maybe, or just alter the tone a little bit. That might be something I experiment with. So I'm at like I'm at a balance though. I want to still sound like a live band. I don't want to lose that. I want to keep that going. So what we started out with, I'll let you hear this with the scratches, which is definitely not how it's supposed to sound, but it gives you an idea of what we did. This is so bad.
It's like you're next to me. Compared to Jupiter, all the moons are Mercury. Talk about proximity.
So the bass, the guitar, the vocals, they don't really count when we're doing this. We're really just trying to get the drums right. So it's a direct bass with the Clevgren Stark plugin. I'll let you hear what that does to it. That's what the bass sounded like, direct. So it really helps a lot to have that. And here's the direct guitar, again with Stark on it. This is without anything. That's just plugged right into the interface. And these sounds weren't really, we didn't spend a lot of time getting them right. We just wanted something approximate to what we're going for. Not going for a very heavily distorted guitar. It's kind of more like a crunch. And the vocals are, the worst part of this whole thing. They're really just like placeholders, just so he knows where we are.
What a coincidence. Everything's making sense.
And that's
our
just
synchronicity.
I don't even remember.
There's no mystery.
Probably.
I don't care what they say to me.
I think those were right through the mixer. The mixer has a little bit of reverb, and that's it. That's just there for knowing where we are in the song. Randall, he said, what role does the glue compressor play? I think you're probably talking about on the drums here. All I'm really doing with the glue compressor and really all of these effects for right now, I expect that a lot of this will change. I'll probably alter it. I'm really just, I think on the kick, really, I'm just kind of keeping it a little more steady, just trying to keep the kick hits more consistent. It's actually not even really doing anything, to be honest. It's really just turning up the volume a little bit in this case. Here it's doing a little bit of compression. I like the glue compressor for like full drum tracks. It glues things together. It's more of like an analog modeled compressor, so it's got a little bit of character, a little bit of flavor compared to like the regular live compressor, which is a little more like precise and digital, and it's probably better for when you have really like surgical type things you're trying to do. But right now, on the kick, it's really just adding volume, and here it's just kind of giving the drums a little more cohesion. It's reducing the gain a little bit on like some of those snares mostly, and giving it a little makeup gain. I'll probably be doing more mixing on this stuff when I'm ready, so that I can maybe not even need that, or I'll be adjusting stuff. I think when I'm ready to actually mix, I'll probably turn a lot of this stuff off and start from scratch. Right now, I'm just trying to get it like acceptable enough so that I can enjoy the recording process. you know, um, that's not always how I work, though. When I'm by myself, I am more mixing as I go. Right now, I'm just kind of getting things in the ballpark so that when I start layering other stuff on there, it sounds a little better. It's just that's kind of like an inspiration thing. Like, if it sounds like terrible and you know you're gonna mix it later, sometimes it takes the fun out of it. You're like, yeah, it sounds terrible though. But when you get it sounding like a little closer to what you want, it just makes it more fun, I think. All right. So that's how we got the drums down. That was the first thing we did. We did the 4 songs all at the same time. I think the same day even. We just played them until we got them right. Then after that, the next thing I did is I labeled all of the parts of the song with markers. So if you just say I had a part here, all I have to do is click set over here, and then I've got a marker. I can click on it. I can right click to rename, or I can use the shortcut Command or Control R, and then I can call this whatever I want, verse 2 or whatever it might be. And if I don't need that anymore, I can just click on it and delete it with delete. That's really helpful, especially when we went on to start recording the bass and the guitar, because now we're not really listening to the other parts of these scratch tracks. I've muted them really, as the rest of the recording process goes. Right? Any questions on any of that so far? Okay. Cool. The next thing we did was the bass. So my friend Chris plays the drums, and my friend Alex plays the bass. And we plugged him, I think, we went direct on the bass too. So I can let you see the chain here. I've got this device, direct input fix. And again, I should also say, like, everything you see on the bass is I'm not committed to any of this. This all might change. It's just there to get a close enough sound approximation of what we want. This device is supposed to help with, I don't even know if it's actually doing anything. It looks like everything's kind of, well, maybe the intensity. It's supposed to give it the juice it needs on your interface's input. So if you're plugging directly into the interface, it's supposed to add a little guts. I think it helps a little. I'll let you know more, but it seems like it's kind of cool device. We've got a tuner. I'm cutting a little bit of the bass below about I have 37.9, but again, like I thought about with the guitar, the low E string on the guitar is about 80 hertz. So that means the low string on the bass guitar, which is an octave lower, is half that, about 40. So I really don't need anything lower than that. It's just going to be rumble and sub frequencies that might crowd up my headroom. So I'm going to cut that out too. Bass there's a little bit of compression. I'm using amplitude on the bass. And I've decided to put the bass in mono in the low frequencies to see if that helps at all. And I have a limiter there too. I'm, again, probably going to switch a lot of this. And as we look at this, some of this might not make a lot of sense. I might not need some of it. But I'll bring in the bass now. Kind of look at what's happening. I'll let you hear what this does. Gives it just a little more energy, a little more presence. Cutting that, a little bit of compression happening, trying to get some of those like notes. You can, if you look at the bass track, there's a lot of variety and volume. And I might even go in here, and this might be something I have to automate, or maybe I can get away with the compressor. I'll have to also see what amplitude is doing to the dynamics of this too, because a lot of times once you put sounds through an amplifier, especially a distorted guitar, it kind of compresses it. So we might get some compression through this too. But none of this is really set in stone. These are just like tones we liked enough to record with. And I think that's kind of a good point to make. You know, here I am, I'm recording with two other people. I don't want to be spending all my time like trying to dial in every sound all the time. And, you know, we have limited amount of time we can get together. So we kind of just get something that works for now so that we can record. Otherwise, we'd spend forever trying to get this right, especially when you have something like Amplitude where there's a bazillion presets. It's just better sometimes to get it good enough for now so that you can track. And that's what we've done here. I'll put that away. And I don't think I was using take lanes on this. No. Because this was recorded on, I think, still in Live 10 when we did the bass. But you can see that there are some edits going on here. We recorded the bass a bunch of times, and what we've really found that was interesting was as we're playing along with the drums, we're hearing what's actually happening compared to what we do when we play live in the moment. You're playing your guitar, you're trying to sing, you're drumming, everything, you know. It can be a lot to pay attention to. When you get to start recording, you start realizing like, oh, like the kick is there. Maybe I should put the bass here to kind of go with that. So there was a lot of thought that went into that, and therefore a bunch of editing that happened to just get this all right. So a lot of listening that happens to that. And to do all the bass parts, I think we took like, I think it was 2 nights of recording for the 4 songs. Just because we found, to our surprise, honestly, like it needed a little more attention than just laying down what we thought we were doing in practice, because sometimes you realize that things can use a little adjusting. So that was a lot of fun, actually, to work with Alex, the bass player, and just like really pay attention to where the kicks were. We were literally like looking at them, you know, on this grid. We were kind of surprised, for instance, here when he plays the snare, he's also playing the kick at the same time. So that changed how we played. We came up with this little riff right here. Because it didn't work as well as I think he might have been doing just straight eighth notes at that point, and they just sounded, there was a lot of low energy going on because there's all these kick drums, all this bass. So some choices had to be made there. All right. So I think that's the story of the bass, more or less. Hey, Joe, welcome back. So the next part was the electric guitars. And this was a fun adventure. So the electric guitars were actually the 2 different days. Let's hide our take lanes for right now, because I'll show you how this worked. So I started doing the electric guitars. It wasn't actually that long ago, and I was using Live 11. And what we did here, there's basically 2 guitars that are going here. This one, this is a Fender Strat. That was the first guitar I used. And the second guitar was a Gibson SG. And I used 3 mics for the guitars. So I have a Fender Deluxe. It's a tube amp, 112-inch speaker. I had that going, and I used a pedal to split the signal. So one of my, I think I used the delay pedal. It had a left and a right, and I just used that to plug into 2 different amps. So I had this Fender Deluxe, and I had this little tiny Fender Bullet amp. That's like $100 amp. Really small, kind of cheap, but very aggressive sounding amp. And then I had a room mic as well, and that was the C414. The AKG C414, and I had it set up in a figure 8 pattern so that it was taking, it was receiving audio from both sides of the mic. And I put it right in between the 2 amps. So the 2 amps were kind of like facing each other. And I put the mic, each guitar amp got a 57, an SM57. And then the room mic was at 414, just in between the 2. And I'll let you hear what the different ones sound like. And you'll notice too, I've got these tracks that are all linked. So if anything I do on one of these tracks, it affects the other tracks. So if I want to delete this, it deletes it on all of them, which is so handy because these are mics that are all recording the same exact performance. So it's 3 tracks, 3 mics recording the same exact performance. I don't want things moving around on this. So it's really nice to have these tracks linked. And the way you link tracks in Live 11, you just select what you want, right click, and link tracks. And then you can unlink them if you want to unlink them. But it makes things much easier. So I'll let you hear them individually. The Deluxe is kind of like the main part of the sound. I don't know why you don't hear that. Let's see. Why don't you? Oh, because my electric guitars are muted. Okay. As you might be able to tell, I've got this group is the Fender guitar, and this group is the Gibson guitar, and they're inside another group called electric guitars. So if I need to mute just all the electric guitars, I can do it right here. I can change the volume of everything without changing each individual one. So let's hear this guitar. So that's the Fender Deluxe. This is the Bullet. It's much bitier, harsher sound, more trebly. And this is the Room that's getting both of them. And together, they sound like this. And again, I may still do some work on this. I didn't go nuts with any sort of EQing. I didn't really do much on these actually at all. A little bit of compression on the Bullet. And then they're all going through here, and there's actually nothing on this group. So that's one sound. I might do some work on those still. And those are the Fenders. And then here, I've got the Gibsons. This is all one performance again, too. And on this one, it's a pretty similar story, except I didn't use that bullet. I had a Roland jazz chorus. Chris has a jazz chorus, and he gave me that. It's actually his SG, too. It's a beautiful guitar. It's a blue Gibson SG from the 70s. It was given to him by his uncle. I love that guitar. It's awesome. And these two guitars I love the way they sound together. So I'll let you hear the different amps here. This is the Deluxe Fender. And this is the Roland. It's lower in volume than this, the way I have it right now. And this is the Room, picking up both of those amps. Same idea with the Room mic, where it was the C414 in the figure 8 pattern, picking up both of those. And the total sound. And then the guitars together. I've panned the guitars a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. Let's see, we got a question here. How often do you put audio processing effects on groups as opposed to individual tracks? All the time for both, you know? I imagine I'll probably process these guitars together a little bit to maybe get some cohesion, especially at least the individual. On the Gibson, you can see I cut some of that. I actually cut kind of a lot. I cut some of the low end on the Gibson here. Not that I'm going to keep that necessarily, but that might be something I leave in or do something similar to at least. I guess it really depends. If I want all of a certain number of tracks to go through similar processing, then I'll do them as a group. If I want just one thing to go through its own thing, then I'll do it on its own. I'm sure eventually I'll have some return channels set up with like a reverb that'll be kind of like the room of the recording. Like that's something I'll have to think about, is what kind of room are we playing in? Is it going to be a big arena, which I don't think it's going to be, or is it going to be something smaller and tighter, which is probably more the case? I might put a reverb in there that I can run everything through a little bit so that it all sounds like it's in the same place. When we use a send, there we go. Yeah. The send stuff, I'll use the return channels and send tracks to it when I want multiple things to go through the same effect. And generally that's going to be like reverbs and delays. Stuff like reverbs and delays, you usually don't want the whole signal going through, so it's nice to mix it in on a return channel, and it's also nice sometimes to have more than one thing go through the return channel. Stuff like a compressor, though, you probably want to put right on the track so it affects the whole signal. EQs, same thing. I haven't even gone into that. I don't think anything's being sent. If it is, it was just me messing around. It wasn't anything very intentional. It doesn't look like anything's going to any of these return channels right now. I think these are just the ones that are default in my project. So, hope that answered that. Let's see. I can let you hear now what it sounds like with the bass, drums, and electric guitars. Something I might experiment with is like maybe when the verse comes in, I might drop out one of the guitars. And then if I need like a lift, maybe in the second part of the verse, bring in the other guitar. Or maybe I'll save that for the chorus. So I'll kind of wait here, and when I'm ready to make the chorus pop a little, bring in another guitar. So having the two guitars, I think they complement each other kind of nice. The Fender is definitely like a twangier guitar. The Gibson's a little like thicker. Yeah, and maybe this verse comes in, I might pull out. Now the voice comes in again, so it kind of just gives me a little more space to sing. And it also sets me up for the next part. When I want to get bigger, I can drop the guitar back in. And that's something I'm going to think about a lot as I'm doing this, is where I'm going to bring the energy levels of the song up and when I'm going to bring them back down. And the whole idea is contrast. If I want my chorus, for example, to be big, I need to get a little smaller on the parts before the chorus. If I want something else to feel full and exciting, then maybe I need to get small and sparse before that. This isn't like a heavy, crazy song or anything. So there's only like so high a level I'm ever going to get. It never really goes like totally nuts or anything. So I need to think about that. Where's my highest energy points? Where am I going to bring it down? And what am I going to do to kind of emphasize that stuff? How are we doing so far? There's one more part we recorded that I can show you. I see a thumbs up. No complaints. Cool. So what I might do now is just minimize my guitars so I take up a little less space. And Papa Bear is here. Very good. Welcome aboard, Papa Bear. Oh, you know what? I didn't even tell you something I was really excited about with the guitars. Pardon me. You'll notice there are some edits in these guitars, right? Like right here, right here. That's because I was using the take lanes. I loved this. For me, was just like the greatest feature in the world when I was recording these guitars. I would just hit record and went over and over. What I do, like 6 or 7, 8 different takes, and just kept playing. The first few times you're getting in the groove and you're figuring out like where the song moves and what's the flow a little bit. Then I start to feel it a little bit. By the time I got to this last take, I guess I felt pretty good because I kept most of it. But there were little parts that I needed something else, and I just grabbed other versions, other takes. All you have to do in live is just highlight what you want. You hit enter, and now I'll be using that part instead of the other one. And the good news is, since I've got my tracks linked, you'll see that exact move I made over here happened on all of these tracks. So all of those different guitar amps I'm recording, I'm using that particular take on all of them because it's all linked. So it was just really easy to work with really just one track, even though I had 3 mics going, and just do the changes I wanted where I needed them. It saved me so much time. I didn't have to, I never thought about punching in. I never thought about like, okay, I'm going to just do the chorus. I just kept recording the song. You can see that. Like I just did the whole song 7, 8 times or so. And that worked really well for me. I did the same thing over here with the Gibson guitar. This one, actually, now that I think about it, I didn't go through my takes yet. So I'm going to have to go back here and make sure that I played this right. This 5th take was the one. Because I never double checked that. So that could be an issue. It hasn't jumped out at me yet. But using comping and take lanes is really an awesome help. Whether it's guitars you're doing, if we were doing the drums, it would have been great for the drums, but we were doing the drums before Live 11, before I was using it anyway. So that was a big help. Yeah, you can use take lanes on groups of tracks as long as they're linked, as long as you see these little chains here showing that they're linked. And you do that by just selecting the tracks you want to link, right click, and selecting link tracks. And then everything you do, the take lanes, everything, if I want to fade here, it happens on all of them. So helpful. All right. So the other thing we did here was acoustic guitars. And there are 2 tracks, and I'll show you the take lanes. We did multiple takes. And I really like the way we did this. So, we haven't been playing acoustic guitars. We've been playing electric, bass, and drums. That's all we have, 3 people. So we decided, we wanted to give some extra texture to it. And I also wanted just to have the acoustics to bring in and take out, to add that extra just energy to the song when I wanted to bring things up, when I wanted to bring things down. The way we did this was using that same C414, AKG C414. We put that again in the figure 8 pattern, so it's picking up on both sides. And I put the microphone directly between myself and my friend Alex. We both had an acoustic guitar, and then we just played. And we recorded both of our tracks at the same time. So this is both of us playing. I'll let you hear. I probably need to turn that up. So this is 2 of us playing. I've cut a lot of the low end on these. So we're just playing together. I wonder if there's like a time where you can really tell that you can hear like the 2 guitars there maybe. So we recorded that a bunch of times. You can see the takes. I guess we did 4. And then we did it again, except we switched guitars. So we just traded guitars and switched them out. And yeah, I've got them panned out, one on the left, one on the right. I'll probably play around with that as the track goes on, to tell you the truth. And this one, we did 5 takes of this. Basically played the same thing over and well, you know what? We started just playing until we figured out what we wanted to play, and then we got our take, and then we switched guitars and did the other take. And what was kind of cool about that was we doubled my guitar part, we doubled his guitar part. We did it on 2 different guitars as well, so it kind of fills it out a little. And they're also on the same track, so it gives this, we're playing together. It sounds like 2 people playing together. And that's something I really wanted to get with he's kind of like mimicking his bass part, actually. It's kind of fun because, he plays his bass one way, I play my guitar a different way. So we've kind of captured those like energies and feels that way. And I've really wanted these songs to capture us playing together, like if, I make enough music by myself, right? So the only way to get the sound of people playing together really is to get people to play together. You can imitate it, mimic it, and make things sound great on your own. But since we are playing together, we might as well play together. So I really like that method of recording the acoustics that way. 2 guitars at the same time on the same mic, and then just switch guitars and double it. And I'll let you hear what it sounds like. Well, I'm going to play it without them real quick. And I'm going to bring them in when this like verse comes in. And you can hear it adds like a texture. of like opens up the mix and the space, I think, a little bit. Take them out. I'll probably have lower in the mix in reality. And if I bring them in on the chorus gets a little pop. If I take out the electrics, maybe I'll do that maybe for the next verse. It's just totally different feel. That's like a totally different energy now if I want it. It's something we might think about. Again, like when you listen to the acoustics, there's not much low energy in here. I don't want them for that. I really want them for that kind of like sparkle and high end. And if I wanted to, I could bring those guitars back in. Glad we got a little head bob in here. So let's see. Can you slice and dice sections of takes into final track? How? Yeah. So we're talking about, I guess I'll show the take lanes here. This is what we're talking about, Joe. So let's just pretend, let's say like the chorus we played better on take 3 right here. I can just highlight it and hit enter. And now it replaces that. So we get like I'll put it right back here. It's going to switch between the two takes. Maybe if
by selecting the portion of the take that you want to activate, or at some point does it reduce it or boil it down to the final track?
Oh, so yeah, like right now I've just activated this part of the take, which I can already hear I don't want. I hear a little sloppy business going on. You're saying like I want it to be like one thing then? So say I've decided all this. I think really all you need to do is just stop showing the take lanes. I don't think there's any reason to commit it all to one thing. Is that what you mean?
I think so. So once you select one of those tracks, I didn't follow the complete items on the menu when you did that drop down. So
you show takes.
So when you select the content, it's putting whatever you have selected into the parent track.
Yeah. Here, check this out. I can color them different colors. It might make even more sense this way. I wish it automatically colored them. I wonder if there's a way to do that. So they're slightly different colors. If I selected this part, I can hit enter. And now you can see it's that color. And then if I did this, I can hit enter. It's that color. The other thing you can do, which is nice as well, is you can go to your pencil tool and just draw what you want. And it'll just do it without any need to hit enter. And then I can see which of my takes I'm using. So then when I put those away, we can see the edits I made. And then I'd probably want to crossfade, between those. And a nice easy way to do that would I could just highlight what I want to crossfade, create crossfades on clip edges, and it puts them in there for me. Little crossfades to smooth it out. I don't want to do any of that, so I'm going to undo all that.
Cool.
Joe. Hello.
Yeah.
One other quick question. You use the tempo follow feature in 11 where you assign kind of a master tempo track and everything else falls into place, or is it not quite perfected yet for an exercise of this type?
I haven't tried that. I haven't tried it for this. That wasn't really what we wanted to do. We played to the click. We turned on the click track. We figured out 128 was our tempo, and you can see where as close as we could do it anyway to the grid. I haven't tried that with the band. That might be something I do one day. It's one rainy day. I haven't tried it with other people yet.
So Joe. Okay, so I think the question that you're asking about making it into a final track, if you look at the top ADM guitar mic, Brian, show him the take lanes. So that top lane is all your is, as he showed you. If you clip in each little part like he was, So that if he were to join all those sections together using that Control J or Command J, that would become one single track, a final render of that track. I think that's the question you're asking.
Yeah, you could do that.
That's great. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you could right click and then consolidate Command J, and that'll create a new audio file. And it'll replace that. So yeah, you could do that if you wanted to as well.
So Brian, quick question then. So if you were to consolidate that top lane, does that make all your take lanes go away?
I don't know. I want to find out.
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Don't worry about that. Sonar works. It's doing some work, huh?
Of course. And you can always Control Z it, make it go away.
Well, yeah, I don't think I need to save anything I did tonight anyway, so
I'm just saying, so that track can go away.
Yeah. Well, we'll put like the Jeopardy theme over this or something. I guess it's a longer track with it. I don't know if it'll take the take lanes away though. It might.
Yeah, that's kind of what. Yeah, that's what
it might take all the stuff out of the take lanes and leave the take lanes there, because now it's not a take. I don't know. I'm curious too. We're about to find out.
I guess I could have tested it on my own, but
there we go. So it made me a whole new, and I still have all my take lanes filled with all my old takes.
There you go.
I have a new audio file this is comped, if you want to use that term, everything together. Now we'll undo a few times. Did I go too fast with undo?
But Joe, was that what the question you're kind of looking at have answered?
Yeah.
Very good.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Thanks.
Yeah, that would probably be good if I say I wanted to export the stems. That might be a way to do it. I don't know that I'm gonna need to do that, but if I want this to just look cleaner, it's a good way to go about it. I guess we'll see when we get there, what I'm looking for. So this was doing the acoustic just gives it a little extra lift that I can use at various points. It's something I'm thinking about as we go along, as I'm like planning the track out, like where I want things to get bigger, smaller, make room. And I might even do that with the panning. So like you mentioned, I have the acoustics panned out left and right. I might, in the verse, pull things a little more towards the center and have a less wide, panorama. And then maybe if I want the chorus or whatever part I want to get wide, I might automate that wide, just so it's kind of like this, opening that happens with the different sections. It's another way you can add like an extra dynamic to the track. So that might be something I play around with. I know next, what we're thinking about, I have to do a lead guitar, which there's like a solo section in this. There's also like a couple little riffs I think I want to throw in there on this chorus. There's this like, I might do some kind of riff to emphasize that. I don't think I have my guitars on. You know, I'm gonna look at like where there are openings. You know, after it might be the lead guitar, might be do some vocals next, and then I'll have like an idea of like where the spaces in the song are. There are like little sections where maybe throw in a little extra guitar riff, or we're still kind of up in the air if we're gonna go like synthesizers and things like that. I think what'll happen is we'll try them and we'll see if we keep them. I'm like, for the last like almost, I don't know, long time, it feels like almost a year, I've been on a heavy duty Cars kick, so I'm like definitely happy to throw synths on things and that kind of stuff. I want to experiment with some of their like production techniques. There's this is probably my favorite YouTube channel right now. Dr. Bobby Huff. I'll give you the link here. But he's been doing like so many good tutorials, production tutorials. And he's been getting into, or he's already gotten into some of the like, what's going on here, everyone? Send you the link there. I love this channel. I mean, I'm just such a huge fan of it. What he's doing. He's doing like the Mutt Lange production, which is, he produced the Cars and Def Leppard. So I'm kind of interested in like using some of his tricks there. And the acoustic guitar was actually inspired a bit by a video on this page. It's like the ultimate acoustic guitar sound. And I think it was had to do with Tom Petty or maybe the Traveling Wilburys or something. I don't know. You can see I've watched like almost all these videos. I'm so in love with this channel. This video, the acoustic guitar trick. So he has like, I think like 5 people playing acoustic guitars at the same time, and then doubles it a bunch of times to get this like really like lush acoustic guitar sound. And that was something we kind of borrowed to do this. I don't have 5 guys, so I just had my one friend, so we just did it together and doubled that. And I've really enjoyed how that came out. So yeah, I want to borrow from some of those techniques, like on the background vocals, the Cars, you know, their first producer was Roy Thomas Baker, who produced Queen. So if you listen to like Queen record and then the Cars record, you can really hear like the continuity of the background vocals. This is going to be a hard thing to Google, I think. So you really hear the effect of these background vocals. And then with Mutt Lange later on, it's even more intense, the way they produce those background vocals. But I'm thinking more like the early Cars. There is the expanded edition, if you're interested in what I'm talking about here. That's so sad, Rick Kessick. Well, I don't know. If you get the first album of the Cars, expanded edition, it came out like not that long ago. It's got all the demos that they did of their original songs, and they're super tight. Their songs are basically done on their demos. It sounds just like the album, but you really notice the production in the background vocals, because on those demos at the end of this expanded edition of the first Cars record, the background vocals are just, each guy singing their part once probably. And they're still cool parts, but they sound like really thin and weak compared to what they did on the record, because they doubled and tripled and quadrupled those over and over and over. And I want to experiment with that. I want to see how that goes. So I'm like pretty hyped on like the cars and some of the production they were doing, and I'm excited to see how it works with what we're doing. We just might not be good enough to do it, but we have some studio trickery we might play around with,
So is that like they're singing the same melody? They're not harmonizing or anything. They're just doing the same melody in layers.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is on this channel. There is I think it's the Mutt Lange background vocals trick or something like that. Huge vocals. There we go. And he goes through the process. This guy's great. I'm seriously like I love his channel. He's funny. He's really good at what he does. But he goes through the process of doing like, I think he does some crazy number. Like I think he does like 21 of each vocal part. And then in his video, he like time corrects it, he pitch corrects it just a little bit, it's not to overdo it, but to keep it still working. This video too is probably also part of it, but and it's just amazing how it comes out. It's that sound, the Def Leppard Cars background vocal is just I love it. It's really polished and definitely went out of style for a little while. Grunge and stuff came along, but I think it's just cool, and it's just a fun, it makes this project even more fun for me. I figure, if we were going to go for a really raw recording, we can just put up the mics and play live. And if we want to, if we're going to spend the time to record it, multi-track like this, we might as well get into the production a little and see what we can come up with. So that's the journey we're on, and that's where we left off right now. So it took us a whole night to figure out how to record these acoustic guitars on this song. And we're going to now, the next time we get together, we're going to record acoustic guitars for the other three. And I think now that we understand the process we're going to use on these acoustic guitars, we'll get them down. I think we could do all three in a night. But it took some experimentation to figure out what was going to work, how we were going to record the parts. And once we put that mic in front of the two of us, it just clicked, Sometimes that just happens. We were even, when we were doing the electric guitars, we had the mics set up on the amp, and that sounded cool. But then we had, I have Amplitube. I just got Amplitube 5 a couple months ago, and it's got like a bazillion things in it, and it's fun and crazy. It's like treasure for a guitar player. But it's also overwhelming, where we were like, oh, let's try this. And then after a while, we weren't making music. We were just trying presets. So we were like, look, we set up the mics. Let's just do it. Let's go for it. And once we layered the two guitars, we were like, oh, now that's starting to come together. So sometimes it takes a little testing different approaches to find what you like. And I think that's really what we did with everything. We kind of tested the approach until we got what we liked. The bass was the same way. There was like a night of figuring out how we were going to do the bass. And then we did another night where we got the rest of the bass tracks. And we're only working a couple hours at a time. It's not like we have like whole days where we're working on this. So if we have like 3 hours, for me, that's pretty good progress. Let's see. I see something here. This track has been in the works. When we first laid down the drums in November, then I got sick with COVID, and then we were afraid to get together for a little while. And holidays happened, so we kind of came back to them like somewhere in January. So we lost like 2 months in there, and we we get together basically once a week, and if we can all get together, we usually like to play. So we don't always work on these every single time we get together. But now we're getting to the point where we want to move forward on the recordings a little bit. So I think we're going to be putting more energy into them. You said a similar. Oh, you did some layering too. Cool. Best take, then copy the track, different layer left. Yeah. That's cool. And take lanes are going to be great for vocals. To just be able to sing and just go and then pick out the stuff that works. I'm excited to do that. I had so much fun recording guitars just because of how easy the take lanes made it. And if you look too, like I didn't go that nuts, doing different. This one was only 2, and I didn't even do it yet on this other guitar. But the peace of mind, knowing that I could just keep recording was so big. I didn't even have to hardly stop recording. I think I just had maybe I didn't set up a loop, but I would play one, and then if I thought it was good, I'd listen back. If not, I'd just do another one. And I didn't need a new track. I didn't need to keep like worrying about recording over anything. It was just so much easier. Yeah, I agree. The guitar amp emulations are really pretty awesome. And yeah, a mic amp is hard to beat too. It's true. I've kind of went back and forth with this. Like, what was I going to do? Was I going to use the emulation? Because I did just buy the like full blown out amplitude. So I was like, I spent all this money on this thing. I should get some use out of it. But at the same time, we also wanted to get it somewhat like how we sound when we play. So I don't know. We might, who knows? Might still do some emulation, maybe on a lead or something. But it is fun also to like record through an amp. There's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about feeling the sound waves on your body. Loud music. Turning an amp up and hitting a big chord is like one of the more satisfying musical things you can do, in my opinion.
Brian?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the effect that you have on this channel. The ADM, is that channel strip? Is that kind of what you're calling that?
Yep.
And I'm assuming that's 2. Yep, that's what I was thinking. An EQ and a compressor. Yeah, 2 lanes going on. 2.
No, it's one chain. It's
one chain.
Yeah, it's a really simple device, just an EQ and a compressor. And this is in my default track. So when I create a new track, it always pops up right on there.
Nice.
So, and you can do that anytime you want to like set a default track. If you set up a track the way you want it, you just right click, save as default audio track, and that'll be the way your audio tracks look every time you make them. And the way this works, I can turn the low pass filter and it turns this. This is mapped. This little button is mapped here, and the frequency is also mapped so that when I turn it, it turns it on, and then I can just cut out the highs. And this resonance is the Q. And the same thing with this, because this is stuff I do a lot. I very often, if it's not the bass, if it's not the kick, I'm usually cutting some low to make room for the bass and the kick. I don't need, like the acoustic guitars is a perfect example. Like, if we listen, they're pretty thin. And, I might adjust this, but if I turn these off, now we're getting a lot of like low energy. I'll show you with an EQ. Like this stuff here is not really necessary. And I'm not, if this was just an acoustic guitar song, I might want some of this low stuff. But since I also have the electrics in there, living in that world, I'm making room for it. So I do that a lot on these tracks. So I have it set up that I can just easily turn this down. That might be a rack I have on my site. I think
I think it is. I was just kind of noticing it, and I've been looking at channel stripping and stuff like that lately. I like that little rack. That's nice.
yeah, it's been really handy. Yeah, here it is. I'll send you the link here. It might be a little bit different than what I'm using now, but put that in there. This is an old post, 2013. It's probably a little different. It looks different, but the general idea is there. Compression is a common thing I do. Right now, the compressor's totally off, but once I do the threshold, it turns the compressor on, and then it starts bringing the threshold down to start doing some compression. And then I got the ratio control and an attack and release. And those are kind of the basic parameters. I like having this there for quick stuff because, again, if you're, we have limited amount of time. We only get a couple hours to work on this stuff. If I have to bring this in every time, it adds up. A couple minutes after a while, and then a couple minutes become a couple hours. So little things like that are major helps.
Could I ask a question about sidechain compression?
Of course.
I think we're talking about making room for stuff, and I suppose it's something that I'm just kind of I've been doing a bit with like kick drums and stuff like that. But is there anything else you use that, or one would use that for? Making room for?
Well, the original intention of sidechain compression, or I think the original use anyway, was like on the radio when you'd have like a commercial come on and there's music, and then the announcer's voice comes in, and they want the music to get low enough so you can hear the announcer's voice, and then as soon as the announcer stops speaking, the music comes right back up. So you would put the compressor on the music and have it listen to the voice, and it doesn't compress until the voice speaks. So you're making room for the voice. In this situation, I'm probably going to do that actually when I have my lead guitar. There's going to be like a solo section over here. I'll probably put at least a subtle amount of sidechain compression on the electric guitars, and it'll be listening to the lead guitar. So every time I play a little lick or riff on the guitar, it'll pull down the rhythm guitars a little bit. And then as soon as that guitar goes away, they come back up. So this way I don't have to just turn down the rhythm and lose some of that energy. I can just have it kind of like move out of the way and then come back in. So I'll probably do that. I don't know if I'll do it on the kick and the bass. I'll experiment with it, I guess. See what it sounds like. I don't know. It's if it was like, more electronic, I would almost always do that with the kick being controlling the compressor on the bass. Here, I don't know if I want the same kind of like pumping. Might try it. Might be cool, but I'll at least give it a shot with the guitars. I'll try to move the rhythm guitars out of the way of the lead guitar with sidechain compression.
Cool. So I'm having trouble with like a vocal that's kind of a lot of reverb with freezing that's going on under the track, and I'm just trying to figure out what to set the sidechain compression to give space, because there's some other vocals going on. So I could potentially put a sidechain compressor on the loudness below or underneath everything to connect to the vocals, and then that might quiet it all down.
If you're having a problem with too much reverb, you can put a compressor after the reverb and use the vocal to turn down the reverb so that you get the clarity of the vocal. And then as soon as the vocal's done, the reverb comes back through.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so if you maybe put like the reverb on a return channel, have the vocal, and you want kind of like the best of both worlds. You want the clarity of the voice, but you also want the space of the reverb. You can kind of get away with that if you put the compressor on the return channel after the reverb and then have it listen to the vocal track. And I do that a lot with delays too, because sometimes delays can make it hard to understand the words. So I'll have the like delay get compressed when the vocal happens, and then as soon as the vocal's done, then the delays come out. They kind of like open up.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah, that can work well sometimes. It's all making room, you know. That's it. Really, we're talking about mixing. Really, side chaining is just a way of making room for stuff. So I guess anytime you want to move something out of the way a little bit for something else, it's an option at least. Oh, cool. So you got a video too. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. There's so many things to think about, right?
There are. Actually, I wouldn't mind asking another question if that's all right.
Sure.
I was watching another video on mixing, and I wondered what they did was I haven't done this yet, so forgive my explanation, but they went into export audio and rendered the tracks. I kind of took all the effects off, and I suppose started from scratch in that way. Would you ever do that kind of process, or do you mix as you go? And
yeah. I would. I do kind of mix as I go. I'm sort of mixing. It's pretty haphazard what I'm doing here, to be honest. Like as I've been going, I'm saying I'm probably going to change that. I'm looking at some of the stuff I did. I'm like, that's a bad idea. But and this project feels different than a lot of other stuff I do because I'm usually doing stuff by myself. And now that I'm doing this with other people, I'm trying to do it with other people. Like I'm not really working on this when I'm not with at least one of the other guys, because my thought is like, why am I gonna do this alone? I do everything alone. Like the whole point of playing with these guys is to play with these guys. So yeah, some of the mixing might happen, but I'm kind of thinking that's going to be a separate stage a lot for this. But I've done projects where I was mixing and working on it and thought I was doing well, and then taken everything off of it. Like kind of like you said, just take all the effects off and then compare that to what I've been working on, and liked the original starting point way better than where I was. And sometimes that's a little depressing, but yeah, I would consider just wiping it. I mean, because you could always just save it as a new set, right? You can do save as. You can go right up here, save as, and I could call this like alt mix, and just try it, just see what happens. That's you got me thinking it might not be a bad idea to do that, and just don't EQ anything, don't do anything to any of these tracks, and just do a mix down, just balance the levels, I guess, and have that maybe like on your phone, and every time you are working on the mix, compare it to before you did anything, just to make sure you're actually going in the right direction. Because I know from experience that you can certainly like mix the life out of things and do more harm than good.
It's a good idea. I like that.
I think I might do that myself. I'll have the like just straight up, I'll just balance the levels, won't bother with anything else, and keep that like on the side to just go back to every once in a while and make sure I'm going in the right direction.
I've definitely made the mistake, and this is just a learning experience, of recording, like re-recording audio with effects on it, and then deleting the original, and then instantly regretting that I can't go back and change anything.
Yeah, I kind of like doing that more than I used to, though, I gotta say. Because I think like I was definitely at a point where I'd always save everything and I'd always leave myself a way out. And I did find like I'd never committed to anything, where like I could always go back and change it. But sometimes I like to make commitments so that I can't go back, so that I have to only move forward. And sometimes you do kind of screw yourself and you do something really dumb or mess something up. But I think the progress factor goes up, because I find myself at least less likely to get stuck in this like kind of circle where all right, I got this new sound, it's cool, but it doesn't fit with the other stuff. So I'll just go change the other stuff. And then I go change the other stuff. And then something else falls out of whack and I got to go change that. And then when you can't change things, you can only go forward. There's something good to be said about that too. But you run the risk of ruining everything. It's weird. It's a balance, and you can work on stuff forever. And that's a little bit of something that I have on my mind with this project. We did start it in November, and I know we lost a few months, but I'm a little concerned that it's in danger of being this like forever project too. So I do want to try to move on it. So I don't know.
That's why I think your finish February thing was probably a good idea, which I didn't manage to actually finish.
I didn't either. And I'm still like, I have that stuff and I'm very interested in coming back to it. And I think I will. I think there is some cool stuff. It's I've actually listened to some of the January stuff I did with a fresh ear after not hearing it for a couple months, maybe like a week ago. And I got excited about some things, and then other things that I thought I was going to be more excited about, I realized I didn't care about as much. So it might have helped me whittle it down a little. I think, yeah, but having those deadlines, right? Like if it was, we have to finish this in February, that helps. It helps because you can just work on stuff forever.
One of the ones that I went back to that I was really excited about, just I don't like it anymore. It's like 5 others. I'm like, I love this one, but that one I'm just like, nah, I'm done.
Really? Yeah, that happens, right?
It's fine. It's fine.
Well, that's the attitude you have to have, right? Like you can't let anything get too precious. If the more you put into it, the more you worry about it being precious, I think that's a good way to get stuck. I like working fast and moving through things, and if a song is good, great. If it's not, oh well, then you just make another one. But if you let it in your head like I'll never be able to do that again, that's just a bad mindset. That's I don't think you want to convince yourself that like your best is behind you. I like the thought of like, there's plenty more where that came from.
I remember I started writing songs when I was about 17. And I remember up until a couple of years ago, or maybe last year, I thought I am never going to write a song as good as that one, whatever my favorite one was. And since in January, Brian, I think every song I wrote, or at least most of them, I was like, nah, this is better.
That's awesome.
I've got it in me. So
yeah, you do.
I think that's just a lesson of, like you're saying, never think it's behind you. You've always got more creation.
It makes it a lot easier, say, playing in this band, right? Like if I was like, this is a really important guitar part and they don't want it, Like that's how we fight and break up. You know, that's how problems happen when it's kind of like, you know, just easy about it. I think it comes easy. Easy come, easy go.
I've been doing that with deciding what songs to take from January as well,
Mhm.
and just saying it doesn't actually matter which song I choose. You know, there's no point thinking too much. Take one, spend a few days on it, and then move on. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Hey, it's just take the exercise of and the practice of finishing a song is valuable on its own, even if the song's terrible. At least you're getting the practice. You know?
That's it. I heard a great mantra, kind of Buddhist mantra of chop wood, carry water, which is just kind of take it a day at a time, just slowly build up the resources. It's been helping me out the past few weeks.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom. I find a lot of like Buddhist ideas work with making music and creativity. That's cool. Yeah, it's a battle, and it's if it was easy, it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't have meaning.
That's it.
Well, I think maybe we should call it a night here. And
Thank you, Brian.
oh, thank you for coming. It's always great to have you guys. This was fun, and I hope I'll get some progress done, and then we'll set up another one of these and go through it. And maybe we'll do some of the work together too. That might be cool also.
Nice. Been really nice to see your process, man. Thanks.
Thanks. I hope it was helpful.
Thanks.
It's what we're trying to. It's always evolving, you know. It's helpful, honestly, and this might be worth doing for you guys on your own projects, like to just like kind of go through them and like think about what you did. For me, has been pretty helpful. Just kind of refreshes my memory. So when we do go to record the other songs we've been working on, I think we'll jump on them a little faster. So there'll just be less thought involved because we have something that's kind of working. So yeah, reflecting is a good part of the process.
Nice. One we forget to do sometimes, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a big part of things, you know. Professional athletes will watch the game again. It's not because they think maybe this time they'll win. You know, they're learning from what they're doing, and it's not going to change that outcome, but it'll help them in the future. And I see that in this type of work too. Well, great. Thanks so much for coming. It's a lot of fun to talk to you guys tonight, and great conversation and all that. And we'll be in touch soon. We'll set up another one shortly.
Thank you,
All right.
Brian.
Awesome. Cheers, man.
Take care.
Thanks all.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You too.